Elon Musk's house is not just an ordinary place. For most people, a residence is merely a space for rest and family life. But for Elon Musk, the home he chose for his family became an extension of his visionary mind. Musk, one of the most innovative minds of our time, with achievements like Tesla, SpaceX, and even his proposals for colonizing Mars, has always lived with a clear purpose: to change the world. Each of his projects reflects his desire not just to impact the present, but to shape the future. Within his residence, the signs of his unique personality are evident in every corner. The house, located in one of California's most exclusive neighborhoods, is immense, yet simple, devoid of the ostentatious luxuries that many individuals of his financial status choose. Instead, Musk opted for minimalist, modern, and functional design, as if every aspect of the house had been thoughtfully conceived to serve a greater purpose. His home is more than just a place to live. It is an extension of his restless and creative mind. Despite being a high-tech environment, his house still maintains the traits of a warm home. Elon Musk's family, consisting of himself, his ex-wife Tallulah Riley, his children, and other family members, lives in this space with a routine that, at first glance, might seem normal. However, in every corner of the house, there are traces of something bigger, something more enigmatic and futuristic than most could ever imagine. The house, far from being a mere refuge, is also a place for research and development, where Musk's latest inventions come to life before being revealed to the world. Over the years, Elon's residence has been a setting for many significant moments in his life, from strategic meetings with engineering teams and scientists to dinners with Silicon Valley visionaries. But what's most fascinating is that within this space, he keeps more than just revolutionary inventions. He keeps secrets. Elon has always been a man of many mysteries. His mind, ever in search of answers to seemingly impossible questions, is never content with following conventional norms. He seeks more. And with that, he has created a house full of surprises, hidden elements that, to this day, remain unknown to most people, even to those closest to him. In Elon Musk's house, what seems simple is often far from it. Every room, every hallway, every space is carefully designed with a specific purpose in mind. Some rooms are dedicated to technologies he is developing, while other areas serve as creative spaces to think about the future. But there are also secret spaces, places no one would ever imagine existed. To an outsider, Elon's house might seem like a simple, modern home. But for those who understand his world, it's clear that there's something more hidden within, something intentionally concealed, something that has never been shared with the public. For his children, Elon Musk's house is a world apart, a place where science and fantasy blend into a reality that goes beyond the limits of imagination. They don't live in an ordinary environment, but in a space where the possible and impossible meet. Elon has always been a dedicated father, and his love for his children is reflected in how he exposes them to the world around him. However, what's most fascinating is what these children may be about to discover within this house full of secrets. When talking about Elon Musk's family life, it's impossible not to mention the fact that his children have access to a world most kids could never dream of. At 5 years old, his children are already immersed in advanced technologies, play with devices that represent the future. Every corner of Elon's house offers a new adventure, a new discovery. But perhaps the most surprising of all the mysteries that this house hides is what no one would ever imagine is concealed within. Life inside this house is full of unexpected moments, where even Elon's young children become participants in a universe that seems as challenging as it is for adults. They have access to environments that are more common in science fiction movies than in a real home. What could be considered a simple toy room, for example, might actually be a disguised laboratory, equipped with devices that help develop technologies for the future. Every space is designed not just to be functional, but to inspire creativity and innovation, whether for the adults working tirelessly on their projects or for the children discovering the world around them. Throughout his life, Elon Musk has managed to keep a certain distance between the public and his personal life. An enigma wrapped in mystery. This is reflected in his home, which, although it mirrors his creative genius, also serves to protect the secrets he keeps. However, the discovery of something hidden behind the walls of his residence will change everything, not just for Musk, but for his family as well. As the story unfolds, Elon Musk's son will become the unexpected protagonist of a discovery that will shine new light on what really lies hidden deep within the house of one of the world's most powerful and visionary men. Elon Musk's house, seemingly simple, is a place where innovation and secrets intertwine, creating a reality that goes far beyond what the public knows. And at the heart of this universe, Elon's son, with his childlike curiosity and desire to explore, will be the one responsible for revealing a secret that will forever change the destiny of his family and Elon Musk himself. It all started on an ordinary day, or so it seemed. Elon Musk's 5-year-old son had spent the morning playing in a massive, futuristic house his father had built, running around in rooms filled with advanced technology, interactive displays, and even robots that made life feel more like a sci-fi movie than reality. To a child, this house wasn't just a place to sleep. It was a playground filled with wonders that stretched the limits of imagination. Musk's house, which some might consider a high-tech fortress, was, for his son, a never-ending adventure where every corner held something new to explore. As usual, his son had been playing in the vast hallways, chasing a drone around the open spaces, or marveling at the stunning views from the enormous windows that seemed to look out over the whole world. The day felt like any other. However, the child had recently developed a new habit, exploring parts of the house he had never ventured into before. Musk's house was full of rooms, some open to the family, others strictly off-limits to the public. While the adults often discussed business or discussed Musk's latest plans for the future, the boy was consumed by curiosity. Like any child, he wanted to understand every little corner of the mysterious world around him, and his mind was constantly seeking out the unknown. On that day, he wandered down a hallway he had passed many times before but had never really paid attention to. There was nothing remarkable about it, just another corridor that led to one of the many rooms in the house. But today, something caught his eye. Hidden behind an ornate sculpture, tucked into the far corner of the hallway, was a door that he had never noticed. It was cleverly camouflaged, blending in perfectly with the rest of the house's minimalist design. There were no handles, no visible locks, and no apparent way to open it. It was as if it didn't belong there at all. To an adult, it might have been dismissed as part of the design. But to a child, it was an invitation to discover something new. His tiny hand reached for the wall beside the door. With a simple push, a hidden mechanism activated, and the door creaked open slowly. The child hesitated for a moment, peering inside, unsure of what to expect. But as he stepped forward and entered, he was immediately struck by what he found. A room unlike anything he had ever seen. This wasn't just another office or bedroom. This was something entirely different. The space was dimly lit by sleek, glowing panels embedded in the walls, and the room was lined with objects that seemed both futuristic and strangely familiar. He took a few tentative steps inside, his small feet echoing on the polished floor. The room stretched out before him, far larger than he had imagined. The walls were covered with monitors, some displaying complex equations and strange blueprints, while others showed far-off planets and distant galaxies. The air was thick with the scent of electronics, and the hum of machines could be faintly heard in the background. It was as if he had just entered a secret lab, a place where the most cutting-edge technologies were created, developed, and stored. In the center of the room, there was a large table piled with papers, documents, and what looked like sketches of various projects. The boy couldn't understand the contents, but the symbols and designs looked important. Some papers were filled with equations that seemed impossible to comprehend, while others contained strange diagrams of rockets, circuits, and something that looked like a spaceship. What caught his eye, however, was a thick folder that had been pushed to the side. It was partially open, revealing a title that piqued his curiosity: Project Odyssey, the next step for humanity. Without hesitation, the boy approached the table, his fingers brushing over the folder. His gaze moved to the screen nearby, which showed a digital map with blinking markers and coordinates that spanned across the Earth and beyond. The map looked like a guide for some monumental journey. But where was it leading? What was this mysterious project? And why was it hidden away in a secret room? The child, in his innocent curiosity, didn't realize the significance of what he had just uncovered. To him, it was just another strange room in his father's house, filled with things that made no sense to a 5-year-old. But for Elon Musk, The discoveries made within this hidden space were far more than just academic exercises. The project, which his son had stumbled upon, was a closely guarded secret, a plan that Musk had spent countless hours refining, a mission so ambitious that it could change the course of human history. The more the child explored, the more questions arose. He noticed strange devices scattered around the room. Some looked like computers, others resembled tools or instruments, but none were familiar to him. There was also a strange set of tablets on a shelf, their screens flickering with cryptic messages. The child wasn't sure what any of it meant, but something about it intrigued him. It felt like he had uncovered a hidden world, a secret his father had worked hard to keep from everyone, even his own family. His mind raced with excitement as he tried to absorb everything. He could barely read, let alone understand the scientific jargon that filled the papers and screens in front of him. But one thing was clear: whatever was going on in this room was important. This wasn't just a room filled with cool gadgets and screens. It was the heart of something much bigger, a place where the future humanity was being mapped out in real time. The boy turned around, eager to share his discovery with his father, but as he took a step back, he heard a sound behind him. Someone was coming. He froze for a moment, his wide eyes scanning the room. The door that had opened so easily a few moments ago now seemed almost menacing, as if it had closed and locked him in at any second. His heart raced as he hurriedly tried to cover up the papers he had been inspecting. But it was too late. Before he could react, a familiar figure appeared in the doorway. It was Elon Musk, his face a mix of surprise and concern as he looked at his son, who was standing in the middle of the room, a child on the cusp of a great discovery. Elon's mind raced as he quickly processed the situation. How much had his son seen? What had he understood? More importantly, how was he going to explain this? In that moment, Elon knew that his son's discovery wasn't just an innocent accident. It was a turning point, not just for the boy, but for Musk himself. The secrets he had worked so hard to keep hidden were now on the verge of being uncovered, and nothing would ever be the same again. Elon Musk stood frozen at the doorway of the hidden room, his eyes locking onto his young son, who was now standing among the various documents and advanced technology scattered on the table. The boy, with his wide-eyed innocence, had uncovered something that no one, not even his father, had anticipated. For a brief moment, the world outside the room seemed to cease to exist. The weight of the discovery hung in the air, thick and palpable, as Elon struggled to comprehend the situation. His son didn't seem to understand the magnitude of what he had stumbled upon. The child, having no idea about the significance of the project or potential implications, continued to move about the room, touching the screens and picking up items with an inquisitive nature that only a young child could possess. To him, it was just another one of the many strange things in his father's house. But to Elon, it was everything. "Son, you shouldn't be in here," Elon said quietly, his voice a mixture of concern and confusion. His son looked up at him, startled by the sudden tone in his father's voice. He hadn't expected to be caught, especially not by his father. The boy had only been curious, his innate desire to explore the world around him leading him to this unexpected discovery. The child's innocent gaze met Elon's, his wide eyes filled with questions. "What is all this, Daddy?" he asked, his voice soft but full of wonder. He pointed at the flickering screens, the drawings, and the strange devices that filled the room. "Why is there so much stuff in here? It's like a spaceship." Elon paused for a moment, trying to collect his thoughts. He couldn't simply dismiss his son's question. The boy had already seen too much, and while it was impossible to know how much he truly understood, it was clear that there was no turning back now. Elon had always prided himself on being honest with his children, even if it meant explaining complex ideas in a way they could grasp. But this was different. This wasn't a simple question about a toy or a science project. This was something much more significant. Taking a deep breath, Elon walked slowly toward his son and knelt down to his level. His mind raced, running through various ways to explain the situation, but no easy answer came to mind. How could he explain the secret project he had been working on for years? How could he explain that the future of humanity, and possibly the very survival of the human race, was at stake? And most importantly, how could he explain all of this to a 5-year-old? "Son," Elon began, his voice steady but tinged with a seriousness that the boy had never heard from him before. What you found in this room is something very important. It's a part of a bigger plan, something I've been working on for a long time." He paused, searching his son's face for any sign that the boy was beginning to understand. "This project, it's about the future of the world." The boy looked up at his father with a mixture of curiosity and confusion. "The future of the world," he repeated, clearly not fully comprehending the weight of his father's words. "But what's all this stuff for? Why are you making spaceships?" Elon hesitated. How could he explain the intricacies of space travel, of the need to create a new world beyond Earth, of the challenges that lay ahead for humanity, to a child so young? It seemed like an impossible task, yet he knew he had to at least try. He had always envisioned a future where his children would understand the importance of his work, but this was not how he had imagined it happening. "It's not just about spaceships, son," Elon continued, his voice now softer, more reassuring. "This is about saving the planet, making sure that we as a species can survive in the future. We're exploring space because one day Earth might not be able to sustain us anymore. So we need to find a way to survive beyond our planet. That's why we're building new technologies, things that could help us live on other planets, maybe even on Mars." The boy's eyes grew wide at the mention of Mars. He had heard stories about the Red Planet. Of course, everyone had, but the idea that his father was working on something that could actually take humans to Mars seemed like a concept straight out of a science fiction movie. It was almost too much for a 5-year-old to grasp. "You're going to take people to Mars?" the boy asked, his voice full of awe. "Like, fly them there in one of those spaceships?" Elon nodded slowly, feeling a mix of pride and anxiety. "Yes, son. One day, that's the plan. But it's a very long journey, and it's not something that can happen overnight. There are a lot of things that need to be figured out first, a lot of obstacles we have to overcome." The child stood quietly for a moment, processing what his father had just said. It was clear that he couldn't fully comprehend the scope of the project, but his young mind grasped the excitement and wonder of it all. Mars, the future, the idea of traveling to a new world, was something that captured the boy's imagination, even if he couldn't quite understand the complex science behind it. "You're going to fix the Earth too, right?" the boy asked innocently, as if the solution to all of humanity's problems was just as simple as a child's question. Elon's heart sank a little at the question. He had always been motivated by the desire to make the world a better place, to create solutions to the challenges facing humanity. But the truth was that the future of Earth was uncertain. Climate change, overpopulation, dwindling resources, these were all factors that weighed heavily on his mind. He had invested millions into projects that could help mitigate these problems, but he knew that the road ahead was filled with uncertainty. "We're trying, son," Elon said softly. "We're trying to make things better. But we need to work together, all of us, to fix the problems we created. And that's why we need to keep pushing forward, to keep inventing new things that can help the planet and help humanity survive." The boy nodded slowly, taking in his father's words. It was clear he didn't fully understand the gravity of the situation, but he was fascinated by the idea of space exploration and the possibility of one day going to Mars. For him, this was just another adventure, just another story from his father that seemed like something out of a fairy tale. But for Elon, the discovery had changed everything. What was supposed to be a hidden, secret part of his life, a project he had kept from the world, was now in the hands of his young son. And as much as he tried to explain the significance of what his son had found, there was no turning back. The boy had seen it all, and with that, a new chapter in the Musk family's life was about to begin. Elon Musk stood in the hidden room, the weight of the discovery sinking in. His young son, still standing there with wide, curious eyes, had unknowingly unleashed a chain of events that would alter the course of both their lives forever. The boy, in his innocence, hadn't fully understood the gravity of his actions. But Elon knew better. His mind, always calculating and analyzing, was already racing to the potential consequences of the situation. His son's discovery of the secret room had been entirely accidental. It was a part of the house that no one, not even his closest associates, knew about. Elon had designed it as a private space for the most sensitive of his work, a place where no prying eyes could see. It was meant to be a sanctuary for his most ambitious projects, the kind of work that could change the world, or at the very least, set the foundation for humanity's survival in a future beyond Earth. The existence of such a room was a closely guarded secret, one that had been kept even from his closest family members, until today. As Elon looked at his son, who was still gazing at the screens and papers with innocent fascination, a sense of unease began to settle in. The boy had seen too much. More than that, he had understood too much for someone so young. Even though his son couldn't fully grasp the intricacies of the project, there was no doubt in Elon's mind that the child's curiosity had unlocked something that couldn't easily be undone. "Son," Elon said softly, kneeling to his son's level again. He placed a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder, trying to steady himself. "What you saw in here is something very important, but it's also very private. I need you to promise me something." The boy looked up at him, sensing the seriousness in his father's voice. "What, Daddy?" "I need you to keep this secret," Elon said, his voice firm but gentle. "You can't tell anyone about this room, about what's in here, okay?" The child nodded, though he still seemed confused by the request. He didn't understand the implications of keeping such a secret, nor could he fully comprehend why it was so important. All he knew was that his father had always been honest with him, and now, it seemed, there was something that needed to be kept hidden from everyone else. "I won't tell anyone," the boy promised, though his understanding was limited. "But why? Why can't I tell anyone?" Elon sighed, carefully choosing his words. "Because what's in here is not ready to be shared yet. It's something that could change everything, but we need to be careful. If we tell too many people, it could cause problems, maybe even danger." The boy seemed to accept his father's explanation, though he didn't fully understand why such an innocent question had such serious consequences. Still, he trusted his father's words. Elon had always been there to protect him, to guide him, and in that moment, the child saw no reason not to believe him. As Elon turned to leave the room with his son, he couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. The walls of secrecy that had been built around his projects, around his ambitions for the future, had been breached. And while it might seem like a small thing, a child stumbling upon a hidden room, the reality was far more complicated. Elon knew that this discovery, this unintentional revelation, was not the end. It was just the beginning. The consequences of this event were still unfolding. Elon's son had inadvertently found something that no one was supposed to know about. It was only a matter of time before the world began to notice. But what troubled Elon the most was that his son, innocent and pure, would now be involved in a story far larger than anything he could comprehend. Back in the main house, Elon tried to act as though everything was normal. The family carried on with their day, unaware of the secret that had just been uncovered. But inside, Elon was preoccupied with what had happened. His thoughts were clouded, his focus fragmented. It wasn't just the knowledge that his son had found a room. It was the realization that the boy would likely ask more questions, questions that Elon wasn't ready to answer. That night, as the family sat down to dinner, Elon's mind was elsewhere. His children chatted away at the table, as they always did. But his thoughts kept drifting back to the hidden room. What now? What would he do if the world found out about the project? The scope of it was enormous, and yet it was still in its early stages. Sharing it with the public prematurely could cause panic. He had spent years quietly working on it, testing theories, developing technologies, and refining ideas. To let anyone outside his circle in on the secret before it was fully realized would be a risk too great to take. And yet, in the back of his mind, Elon knew that the world was changing. The discoveries he was working on weren't just meant for today. They were meant for tomorrow, for a future that was fast approaching. Climate change, dwindling resources, and an ever-growing population had made it clear that humanity couldn't afford to wait much longer to find solutions. And that was what his project was about: survival, ensuring that humanity had a place to go when Earth could no longer support them. But now, his son was a part of that story. It was a story that would shape the future of the Musk family, the world, and beyond. And as much as Elon tried to keep it hidden, he knew that sooner or later, the world would demand answers. The room, the project, the plan, all of it would eventually be brought to light. And when it was, nothing would ever be the same. The days that followed were filled with tension. Elon found himself more distant, more distracted. His son, who had so innocently uncovered the secret, seemed unaware of the weight of the situation. But Elon knew that things had changed. The world was now one step closer to the truth. He couldn't keep it hidden forever. The only question was, when would the truth come out, and what would happen when it did? As Elon looked at his son that night, playing with his toys and unaware of the storm that was brewing, he couldn't help but wonder what the future held. What kind of world would his children inherit? Would they grow up knowing the secrets of their father's work? Would they one day play a part in the mission to save humanity? Or would this discovery change everything for them, too? In the silence of the evening, Elon Musk knew that a new chapter in his life had begun. The secret room, the project, and his son's discovery were just the beginning of a journey that would reshape everything.